This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with Violent Gentlemen. We're back with the King Fury, Dee Walsh. How are you, mate?
All good, man.
I think we've actually 24th of March we last spoke. It actually feels a lot sooner. But obviously, since we last spoke, obviously things have changed a lot. You're able to get all your young fighters and stuff back into the gym. Obviously, probably just over a year or so since they really be able to get into the gym. How's things been getting on with them? I'm sure what you've been training yourself for the whole pandemic. You know, you have students to train and get them back in.
No, everything's going good. All the kids I train, if there was fights in it for tomorrow, they would all be ready. They're all really, really good kids, and they're all really talented, and they want to be. All of them are going to have a bright future.
And obviously, it's like I guess it's important for them in the early stages of boxing. They don't not away from it too long, because the further they're out of boxing, they can fall out of love with it very easily, because they'll go into other things like playing football or things like that. So it's important to get them back in.
Well, playing football is the least of your worries. Could be into that other bad things that they shouldn't be into. And someone said to me actually, no way to go. If a kid someone boxes for 20 years, they've basically had 10% of their career took away from them, because it'll be like 2 years from they actually boxed last time. So just can't wait till it's all back. And if anything, I don't really see a big push for everything coming back, but hopefully everybody gets themselves together and actually pushes for getting it going again, because I can't wait.
Especially with kids, you know, they only have a lifespan sort of within amateur boxing and things. Like, obviously you came here earlier and obviously watched you with a young kid sort of starting off, and you're sort of going, the basics are so important to them, that the things you were doing with a wee young fella you done here, and it's repetition, and 12 months of not doing that, bad habits are going to trickle in very quickly.
There was a kid, that's the second session I've done with him. He's 8, but I done basically the same thing for the whole hour there, because it's so important what I was doing with him. So yeah, I love it.
Definitely. The check hook obviously is your favourite one there. Obviously the big fights we sort of had since we last spoke, with obviously the end of an era for Frampton, obviously beat the Jamel Hearn. Were you sort of surprised by the result in that fight? Or I guess, you know, the dare to be great sort of thing like that, 4 inches and everything else, and I guess time catches up with people sometimes. That's probably a shame in the way they go out.
Yeah, well, in the day, it was probably going. It always comes to most people come in the end like that at the end of the day. But at the same time, I didn't really know what way I was going to go, because it was his third weight division, wasn't it? So it's harder and harder for you, obviously, as the weight divisions go on. So you just never knew how it was going to go, and unfortunately it didn't go his way. And
I think a lot of people would say Jamel Hearn's probably the weakest of the champions at super featherweight, but I think sort of one thing that impressed me is when he was in danger in the fight, the good thing you want if they are in danger is to go back to the basics. It works. So he's obviously keeping them at range and just trying to keep them off, and that's in the tail end where they end up doing the damage.
Yeah, well, he's also southpaw too, so he had that range, plus he was southpaw, he was awkward. And top bad, he was really fit, with a great mindset, so he was always going to be dangerous. Unfortunately, it didn't go from his way.
Definitely doesn't. I say it was sad to go out. Obviously, your last fight, and obviously go out getting stopped. You sort of nearly want to go out where, you know, you have to have the referee wave it off or something like that. And obviously, the title committee sort of leaves with a sort of bitter taste, but in the end up, he knows that the right decision was done.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're obviously impressed with Josh Taylor. You know, 18 fights now, undisputed super lightweight champion, and I guess he's showing the benchmark what fighters should be doing.
Yeah, well, I actually seen there, he said the other day that he'd smashed Javante Davis, and if you actually think about it, he might actually possibly beat Javante Davis, because he is really good, and Javante Davis struggled in his last fight, so he could beat him. So it'd be a good fight for him if he did get it.
And that's crazy when you look at his record as well, like the amount of undefeated fighters he's taken on, and just showing that, like, there's so much at the minute about one division, one belt. He obviously has every belt, so if anybody wants to beat him, they have to step up to the mark.
Amazing, really is amazing. He's 4 belts now, and 18 fights too. And as you say, beating so much undefeated fighters, so fair play to him. That's the way it should be done.
Definitely should, and I say everybody's now calling for him to step up and fight the likes of Terence Crawford and things, but like a 7-pound weight difference, it's going to take a bit of time. He'll probably need a few fights at welterweight before he's even ready.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't even know how it would go either, because they say he's looked amazing so far. His first 18 fights, 4 belts, so you wouldn't even know how it would go either.
Definitely, but I say something to look forward to, and obviously Canelo v Saunders. I guess pretty much everybody sort of expected Canelo to do what he done. It just, I guess, I know the last time we spoke and things, it's Canelo's record can be tainted in things at times, but the punches he's thrown just showing that like he's come back from obviously the defeat to probably one of the greatest in Mayweather, and just seems to be getting better and better. And I think now the talk is that him and Caleb Plant it's going to be next now for undisputed.
Yeah, well, I wasn't surprised what he done in the village of Saunders, to be honest. And on top of that, it was about a week or so after I watched that fight, I started watching all the fights I get my hands on with Canelo, and I started actually doing a lot of things with my fighters that he was doing too, because what he's doing is absolutely brilliant. He's genius, so is Canelo. And but yeah, even with Caleb Plant's really good. I rate Caleb Plant, but I don't think he's at Canelo's level at the end of the day. Experience, strength, and speed, everything. I think Canelo has one up on him on everything.
It's you can't prepare for him. Like I think I was speaking to somebody earlier, and I was saying, for Billy Joe, he sort of didn't have anybody at sort of Canelo's level to go into a fight with him, so he was going in the unexpected. And I think you'll probably noticed it as well. Canelo's timing's on point. He was watching for mistakes, and Billy Joe kept dropping the head, and that's obviously how the punch pretty much finished the fight went.
Yeah, that's about how do you prepare for Canelo, because he's the best in the world, and no one comes close to him.
Definitely, and I think people are now looking at light heavyweight for him. And it's where does it stop? Obviously, you had one of your own fighters back in action, obviously, since we last spoke, and you actually got a wee away day to Alicante. Owen O'Neill moved to 6-0. What did you make of the performance out in Alicante? And I guess obviously a different climate and getting used to warmer weather and things. And I know you couldn't get to Luxembourg because it was supposed to be Paddy's fight the last time, so you sort of missed the last fight. So, I think it was over a year since you had him.
Yeah.
Between fights.
I've been training on him for non-stop, because he hasn't actually stopped training for a year and a half now, just over it. And I was gutted I couldn't get the Luxembourg one, but it was really good to get out there with him in Alicante. Now, Owen would tell you himself that he probably could have performed a bit better, but see, that same weekend, there was a couple of fighters who lost that night to Journeyman, and the night before, John McCullough also beat by Journeyman. So at the end of the day, you take every win you can get, no matter what way you perform. And I was just actually glad that he did win the fight. He actually won it. A couple of judges give him all the rounds. Do you know what I mean? So he just made me grateful that he won, and especially in boxing, as I say, I just take every win I can get, because you never know what could happen. Like, someone could land a shot on you and stuff like that, even to build it till you can struggle making weight or whatever, and you may not be at your best, but as I say, just thankfully you got the win.
It's the one that's the most important. Obviously, it's sort of seen, I'm sure that obviously you've seen things to improve and things like that. You probably wouldn't say it's his best performance so far, but winning's all that matters, and move on and get the consistency again. Obviously, fighting at home in front of a crowd, it must be. Obviously, I'm not sure if you ever fought pro yourself. Obviously, you always had people there to watch, but having not many people there, to G you up and to look your best, sometimes it's tough. But I say, 6-0, most important thing, and probably now looking back out, probably October time, Boxing Ireland show in Belfast, so be good to have fans back at home.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant, and no one brings a big crowd because he's so well liked over in North Belfast. But this will be his first 6-rounder, so it'll be a tougher test for him. And but he's in already. He's training away, sparring away. So only thing now we just have to worry about is getting his weight down, because his fitness is there. Just need to get the weight down now. Want him to keep it down later and later every fight.
And like Owen himself will tell you he doesn't know why he's so well liked, and it's just because he's just so he's so easy to go on with. You never hear him probably complaining on anything. And like of all he finishes a fight, takes a couple of days off and is back in the gym. He's eager and keen. It's exactly what you want from a fighter.
Well, 100%. If you're going to turn pro, it's kind of the attitude you need, especially because Owen didn't have as much amateur experience as he would have liked. So he needs to be in sparring and getting as much experience as he can in the gym. So he's able to push on in the pros. But it's talked about how well ideas, but you know when yourself when you go away with someone, what type of person they are, and Owen is exactly what you get with him. He's a brilliant guy, really
Definitely.
guy.
I can't fault him in any way. You know, obviously getting on to another fighter, biggest fight of his career. Paddy, obviously today he's announced as well he's going to be a daddy again. So obviously it's going to be hard for him to actually focus on the here and now. 14 days out from the fella, but I'm going to struggle with obviously the guy's name, Sergey Gorokhov. I'm guessing obviously you've done all the homework on him, and
still watching him.
Still watching away at him. Obviously, I guess his last time out, if he defeated somebody who was 27-0, he was going away in the away situation as well. Different country and things, and Belfast probably isn't going to faze him, knowing that 8,000 people is going to be booing him into the ring. But obviously, you've been one of the most vocal in the improvements you've seen in Paddy. It's obviously just remaining patient and don't do anything silly.
Yeah, well, we've been working on a game plan now, me and Paddy, for the last maybe 5 weeks, and he had a good spar last week, and he executed things very good. And we're going down again in Dublin here at the weekend. He's going to hopefully get 8 rounds in. And but yeah, a guy who he's fighting, he'll never have experienced anything like false park here. What's going to happen, and it's going to play a factor in it big time, because Paddy has boxed under them circumstances, but at the same time, Paddy is a disciplined guy, so the game plan that we've come up with, he'll stick to it. And it's like at the end of the day, it's a really hard fight, because the other night I was even watching the guy, a fight that I haven't seen before, one of his losses, and he won every round. So even though he's got 2 losses, one of his losses wasn't a loss at all. I haven't seen the other loss, but I know that he definitely won at least one of the 2 losses that he has. And he's a good fighter, and he's going to be hard to deal with over 10 rounds. And
he's 7 knockouts as well, so obviously he possesses power and stuff as well. But everybody knows the Paddy's power. Probably the thing that might play into Paddy's advantage is there's probably not a lot of footage of Paddy online, and obviously, anything you've done with him, he did what for the length of time in September last year. There wasn't anything that anybody could see that you trained with him since. So it's going to be, your man's going to come here on the unknown.
Yeah,
he's going to think Paddy's something different, and he's going to see something different coming at him.
Well, he's not going to be ready for the crowd. He's not going to be ready for Paddy's head movements, foot movement, and obviously the game plan that we've got planned for him. As you say, Paddy's not the same fighter that he was before he started training with me, and which is a good thing at the end of the day. People that see a lot of Paddy's knockout power, and at the end of the day, it's just a bonus, but you have to focus on hitting and not getting hit at the end of the day. And Paddy's mastering that more and more, especially as he gets older. He's becoming smarter, and he's becoming more disciplined too. So I'm looking forward to the fight, but at the same time, I'll be nervous because it's going to be a hard fight at the end of the day. But I'm looking forward to it.
And what an occasion to bring back the boxing in Belfast. It'll be just over 18 months. So the last time there was boxing in Belfast, you actually had to do 2 cards in the one night.
That's right.
The Ulster Hall and Devonish. So like 8,000 people in Falls Park. Obviously anybody that was there 2 years ago will know the occasion it was, but it's probably, people are still thinking of 2019, and we're now in 2021, how good it was.
Well, I wasn't there that night. I was actually, back in them days, I was doing a lot of corners on Nathan's boxing to gain a lot of experience for myself. Actually, I think I had 4 fighters on that night in the Wellington, so I wasn't at it, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to the crowd also, because what you said last time was it February 1st was the last
February
one?
1st, yeah.
2020, so looking forward to seeing the big crowd now, and the fighters here will thrive off it as well, so I can't wait.
I guess for you it'll be a new occasion as well, because obviously it'll be the biggest crowd that you've obviously done a corner against. You've obviously fought in the SAC and stuff before, but it'll be something different for you, trying not to get involved with the atmosphere and probably losing your voice after the second or third round, trying to get it back, shouting instructions so to get through the crowd.
Yeah, probably will be the case, but at the end of the day, when my fighters were fighting, I'd be solely focused on them and how they're going to win at the end of the day. And if anything, it's actually me that has to stay more logical and not try to get emotional. So I'll be dealing with trying to keep Paddy level-headed the whole time as well and stay calm, because he has to stick to the game plan at the end of the day.
Definitely, and I'm sure if we get the weather we're having here, you know,
Hope not.
like if we're getting 29 degrees in Falls Park, and
Hope not.
you know, on that Friday, it's you're probably going to need to have to do in Mexico. Conor Coyle's fight, what, about 2 months ago, it was lashing with rain during his fight, so they had to squeegee the ring between rounds and end up calling off after 6.
It's serious, I didn't even know it, but at the same time, as long as it's not raining, I couldn't care how cold it is, because there's no way you can fight in that heat out there.
No.
I fought in Marbella, my 4th pro fight, and it was like 32 degrees or something, and it was like I fought like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was unbearable heat. Thankfully it was just a 4-rounder, but because it was awful.
And a 10-rounder fight for Paddy as well. About that heat, it'd be like fighting 20 rounds. It'd be like old school boxing.
Yeah, 100%. Especially someone coming at him for 10 rounds. So nah, I couldn't care how cold it is either.
Definitely one of them nights where you want to get the job done in the first round and
100%. Every fit, preferably.
And get it over and done with. And obviously the added bonus as well, it's the WBC International Silver title as well. So I think there's actually a ranking of the WBC at Paddy's already in, but it's not viewable to the public. So he's already ranked, so he's going to get a higher ranking in the WBC, and potentially I think the international belt's vacant as well, so that'll put him in line for that as well. So
brilliant.
He's more mouths to feed, so he'll be looking at the next fights coming up, obviously once he gets the next one. Obviously another fighter we probably haven't seen recently is obviously Lewis. I think the potential, I guess it depends on when crowds can return to small hall shows, but I think they were looking at September, October time, returning headlining the Ulster Hall.
Well, hopefully. Never know where things can go in this and the day's claimant, like. But hopefully they can be out end of September, start of October. He's just been taken over outside the gym at the minute, and I don't know who he could be fighting, but at the end of the day, once it gets announced, once whoever it is who he's fighting, will be more well and truly ready for it. Anyway, do you know what I mean? So. I'm also looking forward to that one as well, because I love the Ulster Hall, and it's a place I never got to fight in myself when I was boxing. Even when I boxed in the Ulster Elite final, it was moved to the Undertown Leisure Centre, and I grew up watching the Ulster Hall at the Ulster Elite final in the Ulster Hall, which is a wee bit gutted about. But at the same time, I love the Ulster Hall, so it's good to have it back in there, because it's like part of history at the end of the day, the Ulster Hall and Belfast boxing. So it's brilliant to be there.
It definitely is, and I think one of the opponents that was announced by the British board as an eliminator for the British title was Anthony Tomlinson, but I think he's actually scheduled to appear on a card I think in the middle of August sometime, so I don't know what the board's doing. Obviously you have the British title fight this weekend between Chris Jenkins and Essieman, which obviously I know from obviously interviewing Lewis previously. British title, I think it's 20 years. It was our last Northern Irish British welterweight champion. That's nearly a tongue twister. So I know that obviously that's something he's focused on, but I guess it's something they play by ear and what the board do with that as well.
Be brilliant for us to win the British title. Like, I see remember Carl Frack says that he's won the WBC title, the IBF, WBA, but the one that sits in his living room is the British title. All the rest of them are up in his attic. It is such a prestigious belt, and it would be something that I would love to win as a coach as well. Like, it's British title. And as I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who those fights, he'll be ready for it regardless.
Definitely, and I'm sure you'll say as well, we still haven't seen nowhere near the best of Lewis. I think I think the last team you said we've seen about 50%. So
yeah, it's like the same with Owen and Lewis, and even though you get to see a minute of Paddy, but nobody's seen the best of my fighters so far. And but at the end of the day, everything's just going to click, and everyone is going to see how good they are. Just as long as they keep winning, that's the number one focus for me. Definitely,
they'll not have to lift all the tools out of the toolbox until they really need it. So there's no point bringing it out to show a future opponent if you don't need it.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. This guy Paddy's fighting doesn't know what he's in for.
Definitely, the hammer's going to get him.
That's it.
Obviously, with your newest signing to the stable, I think we spoke to him last week or the week before. Colm. And obviously after speaking to him and coming in and speaking to yourself afterwards, you sort of told me a funny story about him, the fact that when he drinks coffee, he decides to run marathons and things like that.
He just goes and does it. To be honest with you, Colm's he's fitted in well here. Everybody loves Colm. Like, just one of them guys that you just can't help but love. And on top of that, he's got an engine like nothing I've ever seen before, ever. So a lot of things that we need to work on with Colm, and he'd probably tell you that himself. But at the same time, he's a he's a brilliant guy, like, and we have serious cracking here with him as well. But yeah, looking forward to getting work with him. Hopefully he can make his debut in September or something. I was talking to Mark and they were saying that, so hopefully we can get him out ASAP because he trains so hard. You could have Callum out tomorrow, the week after that, because he's so fit.
And like, I know he'd said in the interview and stuff as well that probably things that you had said to him was not getting into a war so much and sort of stripping himself back. He probably knows he's going to have to fight a few journeyman type fighters and he's respectful for them because they're going to help him learn his trade.
Yeah.
But obviously he said fight of the years, obviously in Ulster Hall and stuff already, so he's well prepared for the pro ranks. It's probably just stripping layers back and going, don't get into a war, take it easy and win the fight easy.
Exactly. At the end of the day, I would love all my fighters to not get hit ever. But Callum, he loves to wear people down, and when you do that, when you go at someone so much the way Callum does, the probability of you getting hit goes up, unfortunately. So when you drop the pace a wee bit, the probability of you getting hit drops. So it's a lot of things we need to work on with Callum in that way. So hopefully he's never ever in a fight of the year ever again. I don't want that for my fighters. So as you talking before you come up here about brain damage that's in boxing, and which is the reason why I only get my fighters to spar maybe once, maximum twice a week, is because I've seen hard brain damage some fighters have gotten from the last time I spoke to them, if you know what I mean. So I don't want to calm move down that route. And if he's to keep sparring and keep fighting the way he does, then unfortunately that's what happens. So there's a lot of work we need to do with Colin, and in time he'll be able to get things right.
And I know other fighters and stuff have touched that in the past. I think Frampton was one of the ones that said he used to do loads and loads of rounds of sparring and then realised what's the point when you have everything there. You don't need to give yourself that extra stress and strain. Cut it way down. You don't need to do it. You know, at the end of the day, you've got fights to sort of do the rounds in. Learn everything without getting your head caved in.
And that's the reason why it's so good to have journeymen in boxing, is because you can learn through fighting, and that is when you really learn at the end of the day. You might at the end of the day respond to or once or twice a week. You can go home, you haven't took a loss at the end of the day when you're sparring. But if you have a bad performance when you're fighting, then that's where you really learn from it. So Frampton's right by saying that, and at the end of the day, there's no need for taking so much trauma to the brain.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. It was actually, you remember the Russian guy, Maxim, that died a couple of years ago. Remember he was in a really, as I say, his corner, I can't even remember the names now, but his corner man's obviously well respected. He's but he was pleading with him to stop the fight, and they'd actually stopped the fight, and then afterwards with the injuries he had brain damage and he had to operate and passed away. But it shows, I guess sometimes if you as a coach are well aware of what can happen in injuries in the sport and you can prevent that, it stops it from happening in the ring as well.
Yeah, 100%. I seen my talking to a coach before, and there was a guy who wouldn't stop boxing, and people were saying to him, "Why do you keep coaching him for? It's a disgrace what you're doing." And he says, "At least I've got the talent in my hand, where if he's taking as big of a beating, I can just throw the talent." So, so you have to know your fighter, and as I say, thank God that I've seen the damage that's been done to people's brains and stuff like that there that I do notice, and thankfully my fighters won't be, hopefully at the end of the day, won't be getting any brain damage.
You teach them obviously in a way the fact that obviously if they're trying to hit, they're making sure they're well defended as well, so they're not going to take that damage. Obviously touching on your last fighter you're currently training at the moment that we know of, you've obviously caught Conor Quinn in the stable as well. Obviously he just hasn't got round to getting back into the ring yet, but like, I guess obviously the partnership, you obviously fought under Mark Dunlop, and Mark obviously trusts you a lot, that you obviously have two of his fighters now and training them, so you know, I guess with Conor he's another workhorse, and like I was actually speaking about him today. I was actually classing it, you'll probably diss me for it, but I sort of said is a cross between Cesar Martinez, who's a heavy hitter, and Sonny Edwards. He's flashy, but he's got serious power.
Yeah, 100%. Conor can do both, But I would compare Conor more to Inoue because he can punch so hard too. And the more Conor gets better too with his footwork and his head movement and stuff, that he will be performing like Inoue, which is a good thing because he's up about pound for pound best. And I can't wait that Conor gets fighting, because even though I get nervous about a lot of fighters who is fighting, I don't think I'll be as nervous when Conor fights. I think I'll be able to enjoy it a bit more because he's so good, and he punches so hard for his weight too. So, as I say, I can't wait for Conor to fight.
With Conor, is it going to be different with some of the other ones? I know he's obviously a bit of reactivity and stuff as well, but because he's in a lower weight class, there's not as many fighters in it. So, is it going to be harder to sort of assess, to bring him on? You know, obviously sometimes you can nearly skip a level and go, he's past that stage, you can move him on sooner. I guess for you, it's getting him in a fight that obviously is going to be handy enough sort of for him. You know, he's going to like a sort of journeyman type opponent, but so you can see and engage and go, you're ready for the next step, you're ready for the next step.
Yeah, well, I know what Conor can do in the gym too, and because of his caliber, what he's done in the amateurs and all as well, how good he is, and he literally could skip what he called the step that he's in right now. But at the end of the day, I'm not his manager. I need to let Mark do his job. But at the same time, because I know how good Conor is, I won't be worried about stuff like that, because I've seen what he can do in the gym. I've seen what he's been doing. I've known Conor most of his boxing career, so I've seen what he can do in fights also. So I'd say let Mark do his job, and when Mark is ready to step him up a level, then we'll be ready for it.
And I guess you're looking forward to obviously having Mark fighters, and obviously him being closely aligned with Eddie Hearn as well. Obviously you could be fighting, and the guys could be fighting in the zone cards, and obviously showcasing themselves around the world. So even more people's going to know Dee Walsh, which don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
It is what it is at the end of the day. There's a lot of boxing coaches who have done really well. I'm from Belfast, and I'm just happy to be in line with them, all the great coaches in the past, especially when they used to train me, Paul McCullough, who's passed away now. He was a great coach in his day. He coached Dave McCullough at world title and stuff like that. So what do you call it? I'm not really fussed about me getting the top. I just I love all my fighters, and I love to see them performing the best of their ability all the time.
You see so much that nowadays, and I guess, you know, you're not so much, you know, there's other, and I'm not going to sort of name them, but there's other coaches and things out there that's more about them than their fighters. You're of the opposite approach, whereas you're happy to sit on the sidelines and watch them do everything, because it's not about you.
Well, at the end of the day, if it was all about me, I wouldn't be working as hard as I do, because all I do is study and watch boxing. But everything that I do is for my fighters at the end of the day. I'm not doing it it is for my knowledge, in the sense that I'm getting better, but it's for my fighters to get better. Like, for example, I would watch a lot of attacking fighters, so it makes Owen O'Neill better, Conor Quinn better, Conor Murphy better. But I'm always actively trying to study the best counter punchers. Watching a lot of Roy Jones earlier on it, for Paudie's sake, Lewis's sake, and even Ryan Lennon, who's going to be turning pro here soon. For their sake, because he's a counter puncher. So I'm just constantly trying to better myself for them at the end of the day. But if it was all about me, then I wouldn't be doing stuff like that.
You'd probably still be contemplating fighting yourself if it was all about you.
True, yeah.
You know,
that's a good point.
Sort of as it bring up that subject, obviously you have been doing a bit of sparring and stuff. I think a few months back with Owen and things like that, and sort of doing body work and stuff with people. Does it sort of give you, I guess something that's good to mix with your fighters and probably demonstrate in that way? But has it given you sort of any urge? Everybody always asks me, they say, is Dee Walsh going to return? I never got to see you in the ring. But obviously I know Colin in particular always say when he returned to boxing, so there's not any notion of that happening.
No, like even yesterday I was messing about body shot sparring Colin, but I can learn a lot from the fighters that I train by being in the ring with them. Even if it's just body shot sparring, and I can also learn enough from them when I'm sparring them too. And plus, I really enjoy boxing, so hitting, not getting hit, it's like a buzz for me at the end of the day. I just really like doing it. It's what comes along with fighting itself. Is I would never fight again, like, do you know what I mean? But in the ring itself, I love being in sparring and stuff like that. But as I say, when I'm in the ring and I'm sparring, also brings a lot of things back to me that is important. Then I can start emphasizing it to my fighters too. So I think it's important for me to spar. I even spar my kids who are 15, 16 now as well. But as I say, it's so I can get to know them a lot better and know what they have to work on now too. So no comeback, but at the same time, I just really enjoy being in the ring.
Yep, definitely. Looking at some obviously big fights coming up. Tommy McCarthy back in action next Saturday night, the first fight camp card. He's actually going to be potentially creating history, being the first Irishman. They obviously won the British Cruiserweight title. I think since its inception in 1985. I'm turning the stato now. And being the fifth boxer ever, as Mark calls it, the Triple Crown. So British, Commonwealth, and European champion.
Ever in Ireland?
Yeah, in Ireland ever.
Oh,
so I think there's 5. So I actually have them. I think it's James Tennyson, Damien Kelly. There's 2 others actually. If I wrote down, I'll tell you them off air. Obviously, if you want to even know them.
Yeah.
But Tommy obviously in action, and it's potentially his last fight before a world title, because I think Bradis is vacated the IBF and Tommy's ranked 4 at the minute. So could be his last fight before a world title.
Well, that I think a lot of people don't know as well is I fought Tommy 3 times in amateurs when we were younger. It's 2-1 to him. Teddy himself only man from Belfast to beat him. But me and Tommy go back a long way, and I've never seen that guy's fighting, but I imagine him to be good, like, probably strong and fit. But I hope he does well. I hope he wins, because it's good to go down in history like that as well.
Definitely does, and obviously I know Tommy's sort of had a mixed career. He wasn't getting fights and sort of left the MTK and signed up with the Magic Man, and obviously he just let the touch paper and just excelled them on even more. So
well, things happen for a reason at the end of the day. I always knew everybody with Teddy, if they remember Tommy back in the day when he was younger, that Tommy has always been talented and good enough that he should be a world champion already at the end of the day. But everything happens for a reason. Hopefully he can go on to win that title as you're talking about there, IBF title. And
obviously you can then say that you beat your record's even more better, saying that you beat a world champion.
That's right. I will be telling people that as
well. Maybe they add an extra $5 on the sessions going
right.
Beat a world champion. Obviously I'm sure you're glad to hear obviously somebody formerly coached as well, and Okachi getting back in the ring. He's sort of had a tough time of it.
Well, I never actually coached Okachi. It was back in, I used to just help out with Rig on it.
Yeah.
I was only coming 2-3 times a week because I was working at the time. I didn't have the time to coach anybody, but so no, I never coached Okachi. But
you're obviously sort of there in some capacity, but it's obviously good to see him back. Like, he won the British title November 2019, and through mouse injuries and Woodstock getting COVID and everything else, I think it's 20 months since he's been in the ring. But it's another man with serious talent that hasn't been able to produce it within run activity. Yeah, it's a pity, because Ando has always been really talented, and don't really know the ins and outs of why he has never really fulfilled his potential, but hopefully he can still go on and do it. You say he's fighting Woodstock, is he? Fighting Woodstock, yeah. Right, then hopefully get that sorted and then push on bigger and better things afterwards. I guess Woodstock's been sort of calling him an alcoholic and everything else. Calling out an alcoholic and things, so I think Ando's got a sort of the bit between his teeth, knowing that he's going to go in and do damage and not sort of go through the motions. He said before in the past he's went through the motions and doesn't money knock somebody out, whereas Woodstock's given him enough fuel now to go in and produce his best against them and do the damage. I don't know enough about Woodstock, but I can't imagine him to be as talented as Ando. Just it's in Ando's hands if he wants to win, because people have always said about Ando not putting it in the past is back when we were younger, like. So if he puts it in, then it's in his hands. Definitely isn't. And obviously a big one announced yesterday. I guess it was no hidden secret. AJ versus Fury in Tottenham's ground, the 25th of September. AJ against Usyk. And I actually made the mistake yesterday. I had to post 4 times because I said Joyce versus Usyk, and then it was in the Zone, it was in Sky. I was messing about, so I'm still messing about today. But AJ versus Usyk. Sort of mixed opinions, and sort of I think at the last I looked it was 50-50 in the votes. It's not as plain sailing for AJ as people probably suggest. Like, Usyk is a mover. AJ's always had problems with stamina and things like that. How do you see that one pairing off?
think the only fight that people really want to see in the heavyweight division is Fury against Joshua. Nobody really cares about fights outside it, let's be real. But this would be a serious problem for Joshua because Usyk's so good, and he could definitely lose a fight because of Usyk's movement and how good he is. But at the end of the day, Joshua's a big man, and that's where he's got to, because Joshua isn't exactly blessed with skill, and Usyk is. But at the end of the day, when you're that big, it makes up for the skill you don't have. So I probably do fancy Joshua, but I'd actually like to see Usyk win that one. Might throw a spanner in the works at the end of the day. But the one everybody wants to see is Fury and Joshua.
And obviously, Fury's fight pushed back because he got COVID in October, I think. By the time he'll have fought again, he'll nearly be 2 years out of the ring. You know, I guess in heavyweight boxing it can be a bit different. Fury's never really been one for probably running about the ring. He's sort of methodical in what he does, so his plan will not change. Probably more for Wilder, knowing that it's been longer him out of the ring before he's actually trying to repair the damage of his first defeat. Well,
that's a fight that can always be dangerous because of Wilder's punch power. But Fury is Fury at the end of the day. He's so good, he's so big, so he's really uses his head to his advantage. He's brilliant jabs, so I can't see Wilder winning that one, but it'll always be dangerous because of Wilder's power.
Definitely will, and obviously you've been related to Fury as well. Obviously, it's always going to have a knock-on effect on it as well, you know. But obviously, it's good to see boxing sort of returning. Hopefully, everything goes well with the Fela. Obviously, you've Conlan Doheny, you know, probably the biggest Irish fight that could be pretty much without a world title being on the line. A card, you know, I'm not sure how much of the card you get to see in preparing Paddy for his fight, but it seems to be from top to bottom. It seems to be well prepared, and it's going to be an amazing night.
Well, at the end of the day, any build that my fighters are fighting on, I solely care about my fighters at the end of the day, because they're my job. But I'm imagining Conlan to win that one. Not easy enough because Donahy's a tough man, but I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a comfortable enough win for Conlan. But as I say, the only thing, Donahy was an ex-world champion. I think he's took a couple of losses since he was world champion, and Conlan's fresh, and I have no Conlan for probably the whole time he's boxed, and I know how good he is because he used to fight Rory Dalton, and Rory's my best mate, and I can remember back in them days he was always really talented, and I can see Conlan coming through that fight comfortable enough.
Do you think it'll be it's going to be as big as obviously test date, but where people's been writing him off, thinking he's not my world champion and everything else, probably this type of fight, somebody's coming to win, and they're going to come and do their best. We're going to see the best of him, and people go, now we finally get it. It's like a delayed sort of gratification to him, and going, now we see the talent you have because you're mixing at that level.
Even if he doesn't perform his best, I can still see McConnell win the world title. Like, as I'm saying, all these fighters from here, thankfully they're all getting the opportunities now to actually progress and probably take world titles, like Tommy and McConnell. And I can't see Mick actually win the world title. I think the people at his weight are actually obviously pretty good. Uzbekistan fighter who Mick beat in the World Championship final. He's got 2 of the belts now, and he's a really good fighter. But that's the caliber that Mick's at. Like, Mick can not just win a world title, but he can win a couple of world titles at one weight, and also he can win different weights too, because he is really talented. He is really skillful.
And obviously potentially then becoming Ireland's first 3-weight world champion. Obviously going down to super bantam, he's going to come back to featherweight and then potentially maybe end up at super feather.
He could do that, because the one thing about Mick, everybody's always known of how hard he's always worked. So just hopefully he can get it done ASAP, because say about the spars and the hard fights and stuff, especially at that weight where there's not as much knockouts. So there's a lot more damage being done to their brain because they're not knocking each other out. So hopefully you can get it done as quick as possible and keep bringing especially nights that gets back to Belfast again as well.
As well, look, I know we've obviously pretty much bang on time sort of before your next session, and obviously you're able to fit us in between having 2 sessions, but obviously it's been great to get a good catch up with you again. Obviously it's busy times for you in the gym, and obviously keeps you from watching boxing on the TV instead.
That's it. I'm always busy. Fighters, and also fighters who haven't got fights coming up, and making them better all year round. So I can't wait to actually see it all, seeing it playing now all that, the work that I put into him and understood him and all for a reason.
Definitely does. These warmer nights will keep you from going inside to watch boxing. And you'd actually put a clip up the other night, and I thought you were actually playing a boxing game. But I wouldn't be surprised with you because everything's so boxing with you.
Yeah, I think there's a game coming out here soon, which I'll probably be getting. My wee lads play season 5. But no, I was actually the guy who Paddy is fighting. That was him. So just making sure I was getting that there. I have been watching them anyway for the last number of weeks, just to keep like not second guess myself as in that I don't have confidence in our game plan, but I always just go back to reassure that what we're doing is right.
You don't really know what your guy eats for breakfast. You've been watching that much.
100%. I even the guy who was fought, who was German. I was watching. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was watching interviews that he was having, speaking German on them. Just this, it's good to see the person that they are as well. See if you really put it on them and stuff. That I don't know. I just always like to see, as I say, the type of person they are as well. To see if there's any quit in them and stuff like that there as well. So yeah, I've been doing the same with Paddy's opponent as well.
Fantastic. Well, look, Dee, also it's been a pleasure again catching up with you. You haven't taken a sausage for too long today. I think we've actually cut our time in half from the last one we done. But thanks once again for catching up, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon.
100%.
Cheers, take care.